I will be presenting this to the staff at Peculiar Elementary. First, thank you for taking the time to learn about this possible adventure that we're going to go on as a staff with students and families at Peculiar Elementary to redesign some major learning spaces. This is a picture that you are all very familiar with. What are your first thoughts about our school when you see this image? Is this the kind of culture that we are known for? Is it what we are, that we are student-centered? Both of these things that are just ways that describe Peculiar Elementary. And as you know, we strive to help students be engaged in the learning and creative positive culture. Our collective commitments. We created these together, and we are so dedicated to focus on these commitments when making decisions to improve our school. And today I want to really focus on two. The first one is the one that we talk about, building and maintaining meaningful relationships with students to promote student self-worth and value. And the second one is innovative practices that positively impact student learning. Along with the innovation, we focus on the 4 C's: creativity, communication, critical thinking, and collaboration. We do this not only through our lessons, but within the learning spaces we create for learners. From the front door of school grounds to the classroom, the aesthetics and learning spaces impact brain function and influence how students feel when they're in school, as well as how they feel about the school. Learning space design keeps us focused on students and creating the best learning spaces. In thinking about learning space design, there are a variety of reasons that many of you have already changed your learning spaces. Some are that they allow students to take ownership and control of the best space for them to learn in, allowing them choice, decreasing behavior issues, and increasing engagement. When thinking about learning space design, you should consider there are several things that you should consider. Do you have collaborative spaces? The clutter, the decor in your room, the color scheme, do you have quiet places, and even spaces within the wall, alternative seating, and of course, lighting. Another really important aspect in getting students involved with the redesign. And that's one area that we really need to focus on at Peculiar Elementary, because we've already done some of those things. But in the aspect, we've kind of done it on our own rather than allowing students to be involved in that process. So why change? Many years ago, we were asked to do a summer school program where we invited students in, and it was kind of like a pilot to start something new. And in our classroom, with the teacher that I team taught with, we decided to allow the students to walk the school grounds and decide what they wanted to do. And through different conversations, they decided to do the staff bathroom. And we involved students on making all the choices, finding places that would fund it, and doing those things. But I think the biggest impact and the most enjoyable thing was watching the students get involved in it. And at that time, we had to ride the buses, and it was a morning, and one of our students saw the bus coming, ran out of our house, jumped in the bus, sat down beside me, and said, all I could think about was school all night long and what we're going to do to improve it and make things better. And that's exactly what we want at Peculiar Elementary. We want those kids to be running into the doors, so excited about learning and the space that they're in and how they can make an impact themselves on that space. Another reason why is that the main focus is that students are involved in the whole process, from what they feel, what they need in the space, and actually creating that space. Many of you have already done this in your classroom. And why is it important that we look at this as a building? Well, aesthetics of learning spaces impact brain function and influence how students feel when they're in school, as well as how they feel about their school. And we need to maximize learning potential. Classrooms should be open, comfortable, well lit, and visually stimulating. Strategic use of its existing space can make a big difference. One of There is like a considerable body of research about environmental design and how it shows the positive effect comfort can have on learning, human productivity, and creativity. And I think one of the most important things is that classroom design can be attributed to a 25 impact, whether it's positive or negative, on a student's progress over the course of an academic school year. I like to take into consideration what research says and how it can impact student achievement, behaviors, and cultures. There are three main areas to consider redesigning outside of our core classrooms. Those are the cafeteria, the library, and using technology in different ways to meet the needs of all learners. The first one that I'd like to talk about is our cafeteria. Can you imagine walking into our cafeteria and feeling like you were in a cafe with quiet chatter and different places for students to eat and communicate with each other, rather than entering the cold, loud area that we currently have? What we have now is really, we do have a lot of noise issues and behavioral issues in the cafeteria. The San Francisco Unified School District redesigned their students' eating experience. They sought feedback from students, parents, and staff to help in the decision-making process. They had a variety of areas where students can eat. In the cafeteria, they have round tables. Students can eat outside in beanbags, and they can choose to eat in the classroom. Students in elementary serve each other's during the lunches, and they provide choice for those in the cafeteria. I think the first step at Peculiar Elementary really would be to survey the students and the staff to see what needs we have within our cafeteria. Possible solutions to this area could be to change the seating choices. We could add beanbags, round tables, and high-top tables that allow students to choose the size of group they wish to sit in. We do have recess going on during some of our lunch times, so we could possibly add some beanbags that are built for outside and allow that as a choice. Additional considerations that we need to include in the cafeteria would be high ceilings, curves, and lighting, which research shows impacts the brain. By including all of those things that we've discussed, that would change our cafeteria by decreasing the noise level and give students control of how they want to spend their lunchtime. Next place to discuss is the library. And this is just such an awesome opportunity where we could create the space as kind of like the center and the heart of our school, which kind of goes back to that beginning picture that we had, where we just want to create a kind culture that's student-centered, where kids are making choices for their own learning. And so where we shared that it is really good for the brain for there to be high ceilings and curved walls and light, those things will remain. By changing the lighting in the library, I would suggest that we do floor-to-ceiling windows for that natural light and placing lamps throughout the space. We need flexible and movable furniture, different collaborative spaces, so that by moving that movable furniture, we can allow those spaces. And then in the pictures here, they didn't show collaborative spaces, but it was kind of innovative, different ways to kind of hide books on the left picture, where students had a place to sit and books were housed underneath it. And on the right side, it's showing different lines and curves and having different seating things by making different levels where students can be in the library. Students would be encouraged to use their own devices and other devices from the library available to them. And by creating the space and making it usable for all users, it could be a space that's not only used for classes, but STEM activities and for students just to work, because there's always an adult in that area as well. Maybe the best learning situation isn't good for them. I'd also like to share that there are lots of schools doing this well, but Abbott Downing and Krista McAuliffe schools in Concord, New Hampshire, they actually rebuilt their whole buildings, but they went off the concept of the library being the center or the heart of their building, which I would love to see at Peculiar Elementary. The last of the three is technology. And while we have one-to-one situations in most grade levels and what the district will allow in K and 1 with iPads, one really important thing to think about is our hallways and how we can make them more engaging for students. And so on the left, I've shown you an example of, it's a big like monitor, and bringing in electronic bulletin boards would be a great feature, because research does show that changing the aesthetics and things that students see can make a difference in learning. And so one of the things is with this electronic bulletin board, what the students are doing can be showed and changed, and then it would be interactive for those kids in the hallways, because we know all the kids just love touching things as they're walking down the hallway, and they'd be able to learn from other kids by having these available throughout the whole building. And also, we've got this amazing art teacher who has Tab Art, and I think it'd be great to partner with her and have kids actually create tactile art pieces that could be hung throughout our building. So those kids that are needing that touch as they're walking down or they're waiting to help them stay quiet, this would be great ways to show that, or not to show that, but to help them out that way. So, of course, there's a proximate cost that goes with things, and it's rather a large cost. So we have to weigh, is it beneficial? And when you think of a 25% impact on learning, to me, that is absolutely huge. And it's a necessity that we need to think about in our building. And there are definitely ways to make this level go down. And hopefully we would have different partners that would work with us and fund for us. But for the cafeteria, it would be an estimated cost of $20,000. In the library, it'd be $15,000, and that's not including the windows. And the reason why I didn't include that is it's already in the plan to replace the windows for the library. And for the technology, having those interactive bulletin boards, that would be about $10,000. So how would our rollout, or what would our rollout plan be? First of all, we would create a team of teachers, students, and parents, possibly incorporating the PTA board members to help make some decisions, share research with them, and give them some examples. We would figure out who will be funding the space and the budget. We might even have to take information to the district level. We'll definitely do surveys to get student input, to get other stakeholders' input. We'll create an order of importance for the areas to design, and this may take several years to get all this done. And then the best part is we would actually be able to create that space. Another really important aspect of this is assessing, was this beneficial? Because wouldn't this be awesome if this happened in every building in our district? Just like we want STEM, not just to have one STEM building. We want it throughout every building. The technology integration is throughout every building. Our focus on our cultures are throughout every building in the district. And so in the cafeteria, it would be assessed by, did our noise levels decrease? Have our behavior issues decreased? The amount of behaviors can be tracked also through the focus room, because a lot of those kids are leaving our focus room, our cafeteria, and having to eat in the focus room. We can also assess how teachers and our staff and students feel about that through a survey. As far as the library, excuse me, it will be accessed through her schedule. We could use the library before and after, a survey. We could look at lesson plans, like did it change the way that she interacts with kids? And then as far as our technology in the hallways, if we could somehow track how often they're used, what are kids looking at when they're going to and they're interacting with those? And does it even help with the quiet, or with kids staying quiet in the hallways when they have things to touch and when they have things to look at? So I hope you're as excited as I am about the possibilities of